Hold on to your hats. It sounds like the boss has got an axe to grind with the entire world of tech.
Alright, I am out of practice. I haven't pitched in the last week. So it's rusty. I'm going to try to make it as fast as possible because I know I tend to go on. So here's the pitch, the latest version of the pitch for the BiasBrain. And we're going to look at the case study. The case study is going to be the whole startup AI, the whole startup angel investors industry. And what we're going to find out through this study right here is that the novice can bring in maybe 2.5%. If they add AI, what we call AI nowadays, a computer, into the mix to help them, they can what is that? Almost 3 times it, almost triple that. Then they can push it all the way up to 7.26. So it's not doing nothing. It's helping them. But this is where we're interested in. The expert, successful angel investors, they're getting a lot better return. They're getting 22.5%. So what we're finding out is that there is a big difference between what AI could do and what experts could do. Now let's just take a look at what I think these experts are doing. Here is an example, a very small example of, they probably have about 300 contenders for investments each round, and they got to pick maybe 20 to 30 of them. Now I only have, 10, but so what? So they're going to look at this, and one of these things going to jump out is, let's say, how much revenue, whatever this thing says that's interesting to them. So these guys up here who are doing well is what's going to attract the expert. Just hypothetical, expert investor is going to be attracted to these numbers there. And whatever these numbers here are, plus whatever's going on with these little numbers, is not interesting to them. This is what's interesting. Okay? This is the good stuff. This is the good stuff, and this is really the bad stuff. Now what that means is that, in my opinion, what it looks like to them is when they look at the data, that's what they see right there. Okay? In their eyes, through their glasses, they're seeing these things pop out. And these other ones are just basically not even registering on their radar. They've discounted them. These are the ones that they're not going to pick for their investment, or whatever you want to have it. Doctors prescribing drugs, or teachers picking hands, whatever you have it. Some of them are just not interesting, and some of them are really interesting. Let's do another one. Let's say that they also like business products and services. Okay, business products and services are definitely appealing to them. There we go. And same with this autonomous machines. Let's say they just say, no, that's not so great. Oh, I don't know what that is. Sorry about that. That's not going to work. All right, so let's say it's super interesting to them too. Autonomous machines, what have you. Okay, you can see that their biases are just jumping out some of these and pushing the other ones way into the background. Now, I want to mention a couple things here. This is not sort filter group. Okay, we're weighing the results. This is not neural networks. This is not neural networks weighing the results either. That's something you need a degree to understand. This is not a degree to understand, in my opinion. This is the experts in their head skewing the data in certain directions. Okay, my opinion. And let's talk about that for a second. What we want to understand is the expert has just skewed the data. And I don't care what expert, it could be any expert at all. So here we have the expert has skewed the data they're looking at, Now, the AI is not skewing the data. The AI is still looking at values and treating numbers as sacred. Okay? The competition will say, if you just made this bigger, you just broke the data. You can't make this smaller just because you don't like this. I talk about this in my other videos. So you can't, we're not allowed to make this thing smaller. If we make these numbers smaller, then we're breaking data. That's what the competition is going to tell you. They're going to tell you that this idea right here is the enemy of an analyzing data accurately. Okay? It's just not allowed. It's stupid. It's taboo. It's what humans do, and computers should not be able to do it. Okay? Now, what's the problem? Is that's exactly, in my opinion, what's making this expert beat the AI. The expert is doing this data skewing in their heads, and these AI people are not. The AI people are just looking at the data as values. So you get two AIs with the same algorithms looking at data, and they're going to see the exact same thing. Let's say we have another expert come along. Here's expert 2. And let's say they also like big numbers. They're going to go for the big numbers. Just like the first one. But they have a preference about marketing. They like business to business. They're just going to make that thing jump out. That's what they see. Okay? And they also do like this Databricks. They know the people and they like them. And they also do this city. They're also into San Francisco. That's their home turf. They just like, I can make them smaller too, but that macro's broken. So here's expert 2, expert 1. Now we have two different people with very different ideas of what the data is saying. Very different ideas of where they should invest their money. Because they're skewing the data, they're playing with the biases in their head, they're doing all these interesting things that make them different, make them human beings. I don't know how many billions of years of evolution, but they have evolved to the point where they can each look at the same values and see different things, because thanks to their biases. And our competition is going to tell them, shame on you. You can't use biases. You can't skew data. You are the worst person in the world. If you Google this, data analysis bias, all you're going to find is how terrible, terrible, terrible biases are. Okay, you got to avoid it, you got to destroy it, you got to ignore it. Whatever you do, bias has no place in data. It's their gospel. So they're just shaming you. In my opinion, let's take a look at this. This is what they're doing. They're doing value-based AI. No bias at all allowed. Just look at the value, away you go. We are doing bias-based AI, which is what they're doing in their head. And they are outperforming in every way these computers. You want a smart computer to win against humans, they got to play chess. Okay? Chess, they could do it. Chess is not the real world. Sorry, chess players, but that is not the real world. This right here is the real world. You want to play in the real world, the real money, you better start using biases in your head. You're going to outperform the computers. How much do you outperform computers? According to this study, in this field, you're outperforming them 22-7. That's not bad. These are pretty smart computers. So they just ain't working. They ain't doing it. But what these guys are going to tell you is they're going to say, shame on you. Whatever you're doing here is disgusting. What this guy's doing to do that, these AI guys are going to say, don't you dare do that. That's the dumbest thing in the world. That's terrible. All right? They want all of us to think like computers is what they're doing. And basically, when I hear them, They just sound like a bunch of repressed control freaks. And they don't want to get their hands dirty, and they're going to shame us for every emotion we have. That's what's going on. They are the geeks with the pencil pockets or whatever, and they shame on us for having emotions. We should all be like Spock, I guess. And they're wrong. Okay? Let me tell you why they're wrong. First of all, sorry about that. First of all, when you look at this, remember we scrambled this a few times according to different biases. We had biases applied to this thing. We had biases applied all over the place. We scrambled this. We applied 3 different biases, let's say. Okay? Now these geniuses with their data analysis who hate biases, they're going to try to reverse engineer what just happened. That's exactly what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to figure out what connection this Databricks right here has to this, has to that. They're going to try to find out the relationships that went on to make the data the way it is, which is baked in. What it is it's a nice warm cup of coffee, lots of caffeine early in the morning, with cream poured in, and the spoon went round and round and round and round and round and stirred the cream. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at a coffee cup with the cream stirred in. And they are going to come by and say, we got another spoon, and we're going to unstir this coffee and tell you what all the relationships are that you need to watch out for. How does this affect that? Okay, they're going to try to tell you what just happened to the data to make it the way it is. All the data is a bunch of biases. Some cities like to do certain this, and they also like to do certain categories, and some categories like to go to certain segments, and all these things are relating to each other. They call them relationships in the business. I call them biases. Some data likes other data, some data doesn't like other data. But they're going to tell you they're going to reverse engineer this. They're going to go back in time and tell you how this got to be the way it is. And they can't. It's coffee, it's entropy, it's matrix math, it's a bunch of baloney. It's snake oil. They can't figure out why this. They're not going to be able to figure out why this one looks like this and this one looks like that. They ain't going to do it. It's just the world spinning around and them having no clue because they don't. It's entropy. It's a physical law of nature. Second law of thermodynamics. It's time. It's the arrow of time entropy, and they can't go back in time. I don't care all the chips they throw at it and tell you what just happened. So that's the first thing about it. Second thing is, if we're doing it in our heads and we're outperforming computers that badly, why don't they try to figure out what we're doing in our heads instead of trying to get us to figure out what they're doing on their computers? What is it that goes on into making a decision? What is it that's doing this? They don't seem to be interested, to be honest with you. From my opinion, I've had a very hard time getting through to a bunch of these guys, and they are bombarding me on LinkedIn and everywhere else with their wonderful cures for all our ills, and they have no clue how people are making decisions. They want to tell this guy that he should play in their ballpark, but they are not really trying to figure out what makes people experts. And every one of us are experts at being us. We are all very, very good at our own biases. Now, I'll tell you one thing that they do have going for them, which is that, now I'm going to start going on. I say this everywhere. Our brains do this. Our brains will do this. Okay? However, we cannot remember ourselves what exactly happened to make our decisions. That investor is going to pick these two. He's going to actually get a good return, a much better return on investment than the AI crowd will. But he still will, or she will not know what went into that decision. She'll do something like this in her head. Let me pick a good one. She'll do a Palo Alto in her head when she thinks about the data. Okay, this one just jumped out. That's how she's going to make her decision now. She can't remember what just happened. It's just there in her brain rattling around. As soon as that decision's made, as soon as she checks off the 30 companies to invest in, it's all that information, all that processing, the cache is cleaned. There's no recollection, there's no recall, there's no sharing, there's no nothing. So the AI crowd has a jump on us because the computers just remember everything. That's what they're good at, remembering and sharing and showing and being transparent and communicating, all that stuff. They are good at recall. This brain of ours is not. It's terrible. It's the worst thing. If we just had a slightly better recall as to our biases, we'd be so much better off. Which is, now we're getting to my invention. I think I'm done with that. You can look this up on my other videos. Here's what my patent looks like. That's my patent right there. It's not sort filter group. It's saying, okay, here's a city. Let's pick a good city. Where's city? Don't see it. Oh, here it is. So we're saying, watch this. See that thing? Watch over here. See that? Watch I'm going to make San Francisco more and less important. See that? I'm going to make Mountain View more important. I'm going to make Long Beach less important. This, I can also move them here. And I can move that one. This is my idea about cities. Come on. I can move my thumb. There we go. So that's the bias towards cities. Here's the biases towards that money. Anything little money, not interested. The ones who are raising a lot of money, those are the ones who they're interested in. And away we go. Industry category, whatever have you. You could have scores in the football players. You can do whatever you want. It's just data. But this is not sort filter group. This is not neural networks. This is not statistical. This is input. This is not output. This is not a scatter chart. This is not a scatter chart. This is, in my opinion, what you're doing in your brain. Okay? When you pick a stock, when you order pizza, when you hang up the phone, when you think about what I said, when you meditate, this is what's going on in your brain. Input. You're inputting biases. You're experimenting with biases. When you do the biases, this is going to scramble all these rows in the spreadsheet, and it's going to, in my version, I could do spreadsheets. I could do a bunch of different output spreadsheets. This I call the puddle. There you go. So according to these biases right here, we found out that these are the companies you ought to pick. And also this is going to be the areas you're going to end up investing in. This is going to be the markets you're probably going to go with. All the way down the row, you can see how these biases are affecting the data, pushing the data around. This is all patented, like I said. There's 2 patents. There's a whole huge part of this is setting goals, where you just want to tell the machine, all right, I want this one to go up, I want this one over here, this one's got to get bigger, these little guys got to get smaller, and you paint it, and then it just a machine learns these biases. So now you have a computer doing biases. All right, that's an emotional, human-like computer generating. I'm going to cut this video off. You got to just go to the other videos and see this. Here we go. It's a computer cloning or spawning 50,000, 100,000, whatever, unlimited number of experts, each with their own ideas about biases, about how to get you your goals. Here are your goals. I'm really rushing through this. It's because I've done it a million times before. I just want to say that not only are humans making decisions nowadays, you got all this market right here. So all these techs, we're going after invest tech. Oh, that slipped a little bit. We're going after invest tech, but there's all these techs, but also computers, robots are making decisions too. So this is a way for robots to make better decisions or to help us make ourselves better decisions. It's a web app, alpha version. This is a desktop app. Alpha works beautifully in my opinion, but it's glitchy. It's not for public consumption. I'm working on a web application, pushing this into the internet. It's coming along. I need some money. There's all kinds of ways you can see on my pitch deck. There's all kinds of ways to make money. Basically, people pay as much as it's worth to them to have better decisions. I don't know how much it's worth to these guys to make better decisions, but it's not nothing. And the whole world can start making better decisions. So, good luck. Please let me know if you're interested. I am looking for co-founders and I'm looking for investment. Thank you.